There is only love.
So this week's talk has been triggered by a couple of things. You know, in the program it says Anam Cara, but maybe that'll happen next week. This week it's stuff I think about, and it was triggered by a couple of things that happened. One is I've been reading a book, a novel, written by Deepak Chopra, who's a pretty good novelist, by the way, entitled Muhammad. And the other thing that happened was watching Bill Moyers and Company on my little lefty channel that I like to watch. And he had as its guest this week Susan Jacoby, who is an author of several books, the latest one being on a fellow named Ingersoll, who was a huge orator in the late 19th century, and a self-described free thinker or atheist. So, first to Muhammad. So this book, as I said, is a novel, and it describes through the eyes of the people around him the life of the Islamic prophet Muhammad. And as I said, Chopra does a really nice job as a novelist. But what caught my eye, or what really kind of stuck with me, is the Arabic word Hanif. Hanif. Okay, so a Hanif is a man in prehistoric Arabia who was a monotheist but did not embrace Christianity or Judaism. And they were considered heretics in their day because they espoused no religious belief, no religious affiliation. In fact, by tradition, if not by definition, a Hanif could not seek out another Hanif. Because if you did that, then if you have two, you have a congregation, and if you have three, you have a religion. Right? So you can see the dilemma that's kind of built into that. So I finished this book on Friday, and later that night I was watching Bill Moyers, who I came to appreciate when he was exploring with Joseph Campbell a lot of the anthropological unfoldment of really religious / cultural thought and how it has shown up in the modern era. This was years before I came to the Science of Mind teaching. And I just find all that stuff fascinating. And this particular night, as I said, he was interviewing Susan Jacoby. Has anyone heard of Susan before? She's really quite brilliant, although I don't know that I believe in everything she has to say, but she's a very engaging speaker. And as I said, she was, or is, a free thinker or atheist. So Jacoby was speaking to her frustration of people not having the conviction of stepping up and letting their voices be heard as atheists, as free thinkers. And that she believes that many more people are actually atheists rather than agnostic. Speaking to Jacoby, right? And she was speaking as an avowed atheist who was speaking to her frustration of people not having the conviction of not stepping up and letting their atheist voices be heard. And that she believes that many more people are actually atheists rather than agnostic. And she references the designation spiritual but not religious as evidence of atheism.
What?
So why does she say this? Okay, why does she say this? Because I've often related myself to being spiritual but not religious. And yet, I believe in the power and presence of spirit. So the classic argument of an atheist goes something like this. If there really is a God, expressing as all power, all knowledge, everywhere present, and all love, then how do you explain children's suffering? How do you explain the Holocaust? And so on. And of course, religion does not have a sufficient answer to this paradox for a non-believer. And you know what? I understand this frustration. It does not follow logic. And yet, atheists have not answered for me sufficiently why they are able to believe in other things that have an unmeasurable quality. So, what is beauty, for instance? What is truth? What is love? So yes, we can see the manifestations of these unseen things. We can see the result of these things. And yet, at the same time, the root cause, if you will, is the unseen. So, is a child stricken with polio evidence that there is no God? Or is it evidence of God expressing perfectly as a microbe? Or is it God's will? Well, none of these explanations will offer comfort to the grieving parent. They all fall short. Even if he's gone to the angels. Right? So this is the paradox of religion. And at the end of the day, the truth is that we believe because we believe. Right? We believe because it helps us navigate the challenges of daily living. And we may be doubters. We may have times when we live in doubt. And still, we pray. Hopefully, to be answered in the way that we want it to be answered. Specifically, exactly. We are spiritual, but not religious. We are Hanif. Now, in my view, traditional religion and atheism suffer from a common ailment. That the definitions of God, what it is, how it works, are not broad enough. The idea of the cosmic puppeteer, the cosmic Santa Claus, or the cosmic bargainer cannot hold up under close scrutiny. And yet, just as the atheist can step into faith in love on their wedding day, the believer steps into that field of love in all things. But both take a leap of faith. I know this, I've done it twice. So, the bottom line for me is that spiritual but not religious indicates a person of faith who's fed up with the traditional structure of religion in general. So, for myself, my religion of origin is Roman Catholicism. There are many things that still today I love and connect with in that faith. Right? The structure of it is not one of them. Right? The government of it is not one of them. And I know for any people who come who are Methodists, Baptists, Presbyterians, come from Judaism, whatever the faith tradition, that we all have our stuff, regardless of denomination. So, for me, this is the attraction of the science of mind teaching. The science of mind. The science of mind. Okay, so what does that mean anyway? What does that mean, the science of mind? So here too, we are required to take some huge leaps in faith. So, maybe you can get me advanced here. Oh, you know what? I think the battery went out, Nick.
I think I turned it off.
Okay. Well, that's to conserve energy. Boy, we're having a good time here today, aren't we? Maybe the guy from the gas station will come tell us gas is under $4. Wouldn't that be a demonstration? Okay. And in this way, we are required to make a huge leap of faith. Okay. The first one, of course, is that there are many names for the one power, the one presence, for this thing that up until now we may have called God. It is intelligence, it is life, it is all there is, it is good and only good. That it is everywhere present, its presence is everywhere expressing as mind. Not the mind, as mind. It is not the science of the mind. It's science of mind. This mind expresses itself as love and law. And we use our consciousness, which is the individualized expression of this mind, to speak our word into law, in which this law is the individualized expression within our unconscious to express that which we need in order to be supported in our life. And it works mechanically. It is no respecter of person. And you know what? It doesn't require worship either. Although, in its demonstration of its infinitude in our daily lives, we naturally and intuitively are drawn to commune with it with deep gratitude and appreciation. And for me, this inspires me to live and conduct myself in ever more expanding ways of love and goodness, so that the most natural thing in the world, in truth, is to be holy. The most natural thing to do or to be is to be holy. Now, many of us come from faith traditions where that is not taught. But if you understand that there is only one thing, and that we are the extension of consciousness of this one thing, that we think with and think into this one thing, then when we can do that fully and completely to the extent of our understanding of it, that we are wholeness in expression, that we are holiness in expression, that we are God, agents of God consciousness. And it's a natural way to be. So in this way, all of creation, including me, including you, are demonstrations of this mind. Our physical body for sure, but also our mind. Our small m mind. Our consciousness is the individualized expression of this one mind. So, we think with, we think into this one mind to invite and allow that which we need to support further growth of our awareness of it. We do this through the activity of spiritual mind treatment. We know, and we know that it is done. And this is called a treatment. If we have a little bit of doubt in there, that's called a prayer. That's the only difference. Both are helpful. Both are important. Right? Can a religious person pray the rosary and get some benefit out of it? You bet. Can a person with a set of mudra beads chanting the name of God get some benefit from that? You bet. Right? The difference is knowing and knowing that we know. Speaking our word with authority. As we demonstrate this principle, as we grow in our awareness of our unity with the One, we learn that there is nothing to heal, only to reveal the perfection within any situation, any challenge, any circumstance. Now, I'll give you that there's enough in there for an atheist to quarrel with. There's enough in there for a believer to quarrel with. Right? I was thinking while preparing this talk that no one's really done the ethics of science of mind. Right? That would be a good thing for Steve to do. So, I trained an intellect much better trained than my own. But it would be an interesting exploration. So what I know is this, that every philosophy has a paradox within it. As much as the atheist hates to admit it, there is a mysterious aspect to life. And I would, you know what, maybe we hate to admit that too. And I would argue that it is the mystery, it's the mystery that keeps us engaged in the deepest ways to this thing we call human life. And to express human life fully and completely is to express divinity itself. So why squander this experience? Why squander this experience with ways of thinking that no longer serve us? Now, mind you, when I was expressing all this stuff, I didn't talk about stuff or things at all, did I? Not once. And yet we need stuff or things to help support us in the basic needs of our life. There is nothing wrong with that. Right? But we're not praying for stuff and things just to have stuff and things. We are treating to prove the principle. The principle that God is all there is, that my mind acts as it and within it to produce good in my life. So the question then is, why not live our best life now? What is it in our life that is leaving us bound? What is it in our thinking that needs to be addressed to produce our best life now? And it is our thinking that is the key to living life more effectively. So change our thinking, change our life. Duh! Right? I mean, it really is the SON no-brainer, right? And so we come to see that our thinking is important. What do we think with? We think with words. So our languaging becomes important. So we have to watch what we think, watch what we say. And I love what the poet John O'Donohue said, that words are the oblique mirrors that hold our thoughts. So that behind their bright surface are the dark and the silence. That words are like the god Janus. They face outward and inward at once. So, what we think, how we think, and the tendency of that thought affects our outer experience. And sometimes that experience is the not so good. Right? But we don't beat ourselves up about that. Because this does not serve in any way except to bring our awareness that we have more work to do. And that we change our thought again. We change our attention again. So that, as our pal Ernest Holmes says, our philosophy is not one of denying the reality of the external, but affirming the reality of the invisible, the unseen, as the creator of the external. Now, this makes sense to me. This makes sense to me. In my sometimes imperfect understanding of how, well, as my oftentimes imperfect understanding of how my life unfolds to me, that I am working with a perfect law. It makes sense to me that I am connected in some unseen way to each one of you, to my past, to my present, to my future yet to be. That I am connected to one unseen thing that unites all of us. And that I feel connected in love through both reflection and through community. So I don't know where I would have found it. And I don't know where I would have found this way of thinking except through this teaching, through the science of mind. So I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful to all of those of you who kept the doors open until I found this place. I'm grateful to everyone who supports this center today. So if this teaching is a life ring, then this little place here is a lifeboat. It changed my life. I have witnessed the change in scores of people since I have been here. This Signs of Mind teaching is effective because the love of this community demonstrates the power and presence of Spirit by means of every person here, including any visitors here today. Okay? Everyone who's ever commented on our place has told me this. Right? They haven't said anything about my talk, but they love the people here. I'm not kidding. It's not an exaggeration. Every visitor comments on it. And I see it as the ultimate expression of God consciousness by means of the Center for Spiritual Living in Granada Hills. So I love this place. I believe in this teaching. I believe in the vision of awakening humanity to its spiritual magnificence. I believe in our mission statement here to honor the divinity within all peoples. And maybe you're starting to feel that way too. Okay? Maybe you already do. So either way, please remember and attend our general membership meeting today. Show your support. Make your voice heard if needed. And come hear how your money's spent, right? How your money's spent and our dream for the future. Our dream. Our collective dream. So I love you all. So let's go within. So our buddy from next door ate into my time, so pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. Spiritual but not religious. Let's play with that one for a moment. Spiritual but not religious. So today, as we prepare to go into our work week, whatever that looks like for you, playing with this idea of spiritual, not religious, how to expand and invite a deeper awareness of Spirit in our life, just for today. How to invite the power, the intelligence, the creativity, the love, the beauty, the light, the truth that God is into our day today. And empowering ourselves with that infinite power and presence that God is to infuse our week and to propel our heart's desire by means of our life this week. Moment to moment. Heart to heart. And the deep understanding that all is an expression of God consciousness.